Hello, welcome to Tiger Paws. Today we have our Russian teacher, Jen Hoffman.
Hi.
How are you, Jen?
I'm well, how are you?
Oh, it's not Russian, is it?
Yeah, it's French, you know.
It seems like everybody should be able to speak Russian these days.
Sure.
At least you know what's going on in the world.
Chivadan, that's the only thing I know.
Is that right?
Suitcase, yep.
Okay, oh, well, at least you know something.
Yeah, sure,
So,
if I lose my suitcase.
yeah, that's right. If it ends up in Moscow or something.
Yeah.
But I just we wanted to bring you on here today, talk a little bit about a couple things, about our French program, and then I know that you are currently planning a large field trip a year from now.
To France,
to
yeah.
France,
Yep.
to France. That's good.
It's going to be great.
That's good. I'll at least ask you some question today that, so I'm just going to forewarn you, so I'm going to at least ask you a question that you have to answer in French.
Oh, okay, d'accord.
Okay. What was that word?
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Is that the one?
No, that was good. That wasn't good.
Thank
But well, anyway, so we do appreciate you coming on today. But a little background on this was so that you know. I mean, you kind of know this, and that a few years back we were in search of a French teacher. Mm-hmm. Maybe or maybe not. I had talked to Mr. Warner that we were trying to figure out like how we were going to sunset that program because the interest wasn't there. We didn't feel like there were enough kids, and what were we going to do? We were going to do online or whatever. And then I know that we'd posted the position, and you applied.
Yeah, actually, Mr. Warner called me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had been working, I had lived in France, came back, and I was working for Marlington for their migrant worker program.
Okay.
And with helping kids get some high school credit.
Okay.
And then I had applied to be a substitute, and then I turned in that application on Friday, and he called me on Sunday afternoon and was like, well, we have this job, and he talked a lot about it and really kind. And
yeah. It's kind of on the back end where if
yeah.
you didn't find somebody, we were going to sunset the program.
Yeah,
so.
and then he was like, what are you doing tomorrow? Could you come in for an interview? And I looked at my calendar and it was completely blank. And I was like, I can't really come in at 10, maybe 10:15. And so then it ended up, it all worked out. So
Good. And then after a year, then of course the numbers had grown.
Yeah.
So Mr. Warner called me about, could we make this full time? And we did do that.
Yeah, I'm so grateful. I love my job.
Yeah.
So
Now, is this your third year?
This is my third year teaching.
Finishing up your third year.
Yeah.
Now, tell us a little bit, though, because I don't think, if I remember correctly, back from when you talked with me, your interview, education wasn't part of the French language that you wanted to do.
Yeah, so I went to Ohio State after high school. I had lived in France as an exchange student.
Okay.
Then was going to go to Mount Union, but then decided it was like 7 minutes was too close to my house. Okay. So then I just went to OSU without ever having visited or done orientation or anything. And so I studied French and international relations and diplomacy. I have 2 degrees from OSU with that. I had thought maybe later in life I'd go back and teach, but I really wanted to work, do some mission work in Africa. Okay. But I lost hearing in my left ear when I was in college. Okay. And so I couldn't really work for the UN or anything because I couldn't pass as an interpreter. I'm not qualified because of the hearing loss. Okay. So yeah, then I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. I was going to go and get a master's, but I had lived in France and taught English to 6-year-olds the year after Ohio State.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
Yeah, and it was such a great program, great experience. But kind of just it all worked out that with teaching a foreign language, if you for the state, if you can speak the language, it's kind of the things that you have to do to be able to teach it. And so now, 3 years later, I'm going to have to go back and take some of those teaching classes that everybody else has to take. Sure. But it's just kind of back on the back, and it's not all front loaded like.
So even though you're teaching, you still have to do that.
Yep, a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. So I it just all was a whirlwind. Right at that beginning, I was teaching part-time, and I was taking some classes on the side to try to get my, I was like substituting for myself, kind of a thing.
Right.
A lot of work in the beginning, because I am the program, so I teach French 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Okay. Do you combine any of those?
3 and 4 get combined. And
Okay.
I love it that way, because the 3s, you have some students who are really great and they can kind of push others. They might
Sure.
even be better than some of the 4th years. But those programs, I run an A and a B year. So next year we're doing.
So
Yeah.
our numbers are good that we're not
Yeah.
going to have to put you back to
I hope
part-time.
not. No, they're great.
Okay.
Actually, I'm a little bit worried they might be a little bit too big
Oh,
here
are
soon.
you really? Okay.
Yeah, because I have 3 classes of 1, 2 classes of 2, and I really need 2 classes of 3, 4, just because of all the opportunities we
Sure.
have here. I have a lot of kids in the band and career tech, and so I lose some students who aren't going to be able to do that. I have a lot of students who have to eat lunch in my classroom, because if they weren't allowed to do that, then they wouldn't be able to take my class.
Okay.
Which, even though right now, currently I don't have an AP or a college credit plus class, students who graduate and go on to college will most likely have to take a placement test and do a language anyways. And so I took AP in high school, but my AP score and the score that I placed going into college were the exact same. I would have placed in the same class even if I hadn't taken AP. So I really try to get our kids ready to take that
Sure.
placement test.
Oh, good.
That third and that 4th year is kind of key where it is. So I saw a student at prom the other day, actually, who had come back with his girlfriend, and he told me, "Oh, Madame, it's great. Like I tested out of this class, I tested into this second class, and I really." It was all about the imparfait, just like you said, Madame, and so that was really great to hear. So even though we don't have currently those upper level, more difficult classes, my students still have the ability in college to test out of some things from my class.
Okay. So, and I know that the high interest in your program, the fact that it's growing to the point where you may need help or whatever as far as another staff person, which is good, as long as we have interest. But so let us know in French then about this upcoming trip that you've planned for the spring or the summer of 18.
Oh, en français?
Yes.
OK. En juin 2018, on va faire une visite en France, à Paris, à Versailles. On va faire du vélo à Versailles, en fait. On va aller au château de la Loire. On va aller à Amboise, à Chenonceau, à Chambord. On va aller en Normandie pour visiter les plages et le musée. Aussi, on va aller à Rouen. Jeanne d'Arc, elle est une sainte. Elle a été fait brûler à Rouen, donc ça va être génial. Et on y va avec, il y a 8 personnes, 2 adultes, 7 élèves. 1, 2, 3, pardon, 9 personnes. Moi et une adulte et 3 garçons et 4 filles.
Ah.
Ouais.
Oui. Is that
We actually, and I was thinking, I was like, if we find this clip, I'm going to be able to, maybe I'll play it for the students and incorporate it into their, maybe a quiz over what I just said to them.
Good. Good. So,
But yeah, in English, maybe?
maybe in English, you can
Yeah.
give us that same version in English. That would be good.
So we're going with a company called ACIS. They're a really reputable company. We're going for about 11 days in June. We're going to visit Paris, the castles of the Loire Valley. We're going to Normandy. We're going to Rouen. We're going to do some really special things. We're going to get to go on a bike tour of Versailles, which will be really wonderful. We're going to get to sketch with an artist. We're going to get to play some bocce ball, some pétanque with some French people, and kind of getting a chance to have class come to life. Right now in French 2, we're learning about Paris. And so I kind of, talk through Paris, my personal experiences there. I talk through kind of the things that they would see if we went. And now I have some students who are actually going to get a chance to go and see those things.
Good.
And so I'm most excited about that. They asked me the other day, well, what are you excited about? I cannot wait to see them, see the Eiffel Tower for the first time, and then wander down the street and say, oh, look, that's the Pompidou. Do you remember that time when I made a Pompidou out of straws and Madame ran it over with her book cart? I remember that, and I just can't wait.
Oh, good.
And then in 3-4 next year, we're going to learn about history. So that's the third 9 weeks we read about. We've learned about fairy tales and castles. So we'll look at like the plan, the map of the castles we're going to go visit. And so those will become part of our unit. And then kind of getting a chance to go from the Renaissance up through Napoleon, maybe on a little bit farther, but getting a chance for that to come to real life, I'm so pumped about.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So what's the cost? What would it cost a student?
Yeah, right now, roughly about $4,200 to $4,500.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have much interest yet? Do we have any kids who
Yeah,
are committed?
I have 7 students going, and it's going to be great.
Is that final, that there's 7? Or?
If a student is still interested, or a parent is still interested, we can totally bring them on, and it's not too late. They could even come on in the fall. But I probably right around 7 students, and an adult is going to go with, going to go with me. So
how many adults?
There's another one.
Okay,
Yeah.
good,
Yeah.
good. So tell me a little bit. It's always a concern. As we watch the news and things like that. Is what's your confidence with safety around the world? Like, how safe is France? And
I don't really think that it's any more unsafe than it is here, per se. I think maybe I run a risk going to the mall or walking into school, maybe more than I run if I'm walking in a big city.
Yeah.
As a tourist, you have to be really aware of your surroundings, because you don't look the same as everybody else. Maybe I can fool somebody by wearing clothes that French people would wear. They usually wear darker things and things like really nice quality clothes.
Right.
They have less clothes, but better quality clothes. But the moment I open my mouth, you can tell that I'm American by the way my lips form, just because our language is different than French. So you have to be really aware. The students and I are gonna work through having some meetings, talking about how one needs to act in a big city. I'm not really worried. The company that we're traveling with has a really great track record, and they have contingencies in place in case something were to happen.
Sure.
And like I had said before, I've lived there a couple times, so I am confident that we can figure something out. If something were, God forbid, something were to happen, we can figure it out, and then let everybody know it's happening as it's happening. But I'm not worried about it at all. I'm not losing sleep over it, at least.
I've not been to France or Paris. I know my daughter, she did a trip flew into London and then did some train and went around Europe, Italy, and ended up in France. I think they took a train and ended up in Paris and then flew out of their home. So it was all part of a trip years ago. It was like a 3-week, it was one of her Christmas break, so I didn't get to see her because she was traveling through Europe, which is fine. But
lucky.
Yeah, lucky. Yeah. But that's good. So tell me a little bit. Now let's get back over here, and then maybe back in Massillon, and then what are your goals for your kids? You have a group of kids that come in to start taking French, French 1.
Yeah.
And then obviously some of them may last till 4. What's the language requirement now for college?
It just depends on the college.
Okay.
Some are requiring 3 years of 1 or 2 and 2.
Okay.
But again, it just depends on the program you're going in. I went to Ohio State, a Bachelor of Arts degree at Ohio State. When I graduated in 2013, you had to have all the 100 levels done, and so that would be the equivalent of maybe French 5 or 6 to be able to test out of, but or not test out of, but it would be the equivalent of that. I tell my students it's that 3rd level, which is where the past tense. So French 1 it's not all about grammar, but French 1 deals with present tense. French 2 adds in a little bit of past tense, but French 3 is where the past tense gets, you add narration and you add dialogue and you add description, and those are 2 different verb tenses, the imparfait and the passé composé, and that's what a college placement test is looking for. So French 3 is where you want to be, and then French 4 takes those things and makes them a little bit deeper and adds some more.
At what level, like French 1, 2, 3, or 4, can one of our students comfortably converse in France?
In France, I think my French 1s could totally do that. It just depends on what they're talking about. So I think my French 3 and 4s, it would be uncomfortable because language is always uncomfortable if you don't know the words exactly
Sure.
what's happening. But they could, if we took them and threw them like in the middle of a bunch of French speakers, it would take them a couple minutes to warm up, but they would be fine. Especially if I was not listening to them, they get
Sure.
nervous when I'm
Okay.
listening to them.
Sure.
But my French ones did that a couple weeks ago. We were talking about school supplies.
Okay.
And like I timed them we did like an activity for 5 minutes. They couldn't speak any English, and they could have gone on for 25 minutes. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Good.
just
good.
talking about things that they know that
Yeah.
they've really studied. They could go on and on and on. Their sentences might not be the most interesting. They might say, "I have a blue pen. I have 2 blue pens. I have a black pen," but they could still do it.
But
Yeah.
they're good. All right. Well, we're going to wrap this up here. But so, Jen, tell us a little bit of something. I know you're active with softball or something that you used to do and all that kind of stuff.
I play softball. I run a summer camp in the summer.
Okay. Yeah. So tell us a little bit of maybe Massillon, something that they might not know about Jen Hoffman.
Well, I am certified to teach archery at schools.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you are?
Yes, I
Okay,
am.
good.
So like I said, I run a summer camp and do those sorts of things. I love tie-dye. I have a golden retriever. But the thing that's probably the most important that every student, if you ask them the thing that you needed to know about Madame Hoffman, they would say that I love The Sound of Music.
Okay.
I'm obsessed with Julie Andrews and The Sound of Music.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that French-based?
No, Austria.
Oh, Austria.
Salzburg.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
should have known that.
Yeah.
Now I'm
Julie
embarrassed.
Andrews. No, it's okay. It happens.
That mixed up with Mary Poppins and.
Oh, she is Mary Poppins.
Oh, she is.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But my students, she's may or may not always be the example. Like my 3-4s are writing about like if I were president, I would. And then that's part of their final. So they were giving a speech based on a politician that they had kind of found themselves aligning with because the French election just happened. And my example wasn't a I try not to get too involved with politics just because it's hairy.
Yeah.
So I said, why would Julie Andrews be a good nanny? And that was like she's my go-to example.
All right.
So by the end of 4 years, they should be able to know who Julie Andrews is.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you
Jen,
so much for having me.
Yeah, I think there was a mix-up last time. What ended up happening was last time is that I had an interview going on and it took too long, and then all the kids were gone. So that's what happened. You weren't late, but I need to apologize for that. But yeah, I just took too long. I was just
Yeah, I think these things happen.
Yeah, but we're glad we got you on.
Yeah,
We'll have
thank
you
you
on
so
here in a
much.
couple of years, and we do appreciate the way you've helped grow the French program,
thank
and
you.
so impressed that you're taking a group of kids and going over to France, and that's pretty neat. And but we're in good hands in French here in Massillon. So thank you all for watching Tiger Paws.